No gold is not in her. She's a diamond.
Okay, so in this week's episode, there was a question or a comment that asked me to explain the mechanic of clairsentience in conjunction with clairvoyance. And it's something that I looked at very on in my own development. And there's a typical example, which I'll get to in a moment, that I used. Because my clairvoyance was very sharp, but I was lacking the understanding or the understanding of how to use the clairsentience, the feeling part of my mediumship. And there's always a great depth to feeling, I now realise, that clairvoyance can offer me. And I remember doing a demonstration one day locally to my hometown, where I was seeing a train, and I was also and then followed immediately by a vision of a chef. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. I just couldn't piece it together. Why would I see a train, and then why would I see a chef? So I felt it, and I could feel the motion of a train, and I could feel my love of cooking. And I was like, what on earth is this all about? It was really early on in my platform demonstrating, and so I couldn't work out the statement that I had to give. So I resorted to just saying, I'm going to have to explain to you what I'm seeing, and then we'll take it from there. And I said, what she's showing me, it was someone's mum, and what she's showing me is that this train, so I feel like I'm on a train, I can see the train, but I feel like I'm a chef, and I feel like I'm in the kitchen preparing meals. And the recipient accepted it. She said, yeah, that would be right. And I couldn't work it out, and she said she was the catering staff on one of the trains. And so in that process, I immediately learned that I need to be backing everything up with a feeling. So I mechanically asked my team to give me the feeling with every image that I had. So if I saw a cup of tea, for example, I would then want to feel that cup of tea. You know, I would want to feel if it was hot or if it was cold. I'd want to taste the tea, if it was sugary, if it was strong, if it was milky. All the things that the visual can't give me. So granted, the visual will tell me if it's milky, but the visual can't give me if there's any sugar within that cup of tea. And so through the tasting of that, I would know that if it was sweet or not. And so this feeling I started to really enhance, and the tasting I started to enhance just through asking my team to back up the next statement with each of the clairs. So whether it be clairaudible or clairsentient, you know, so I'm feeling it, or visual. And what I was doing is I was giving myself a workout during this process, while in the act of mediumship. So I learned very quickly that I could sharpen this myself. Now there is a plus point and a downside to this, and the question that someone presented to me was that, can you give me the mechanic for clairsentience? And so what I was doing was I was relying on the visual so much, my detail in my clairvoyance, that I wasn't looking for anything else. The clairvoyance would give me everything I need kind of approach. But then I realised I was getting a statement come into the mind. So as that information formulates in my mind, that idea sparks, I would see the vision in front of me. So in this example, the cup of tea. And then I would say, right, now give me the feeling of that. So in would come the information again for the same statement, and then I would feel for it. So my sensitivity is looking for the feeling of it. Now that's great for sharpening, that's great for circle, that's wonderful. But what I soon realised very quickly through this asking for the spirit world, my team, my guides, to give me in this other way, is I was using double the fuel to get one statement. So I would find that if I was used to doing an hour's demonstration, I was struggling at 30 minutes because I was asking for the statement twice and heightening my awareness very mechanically to get the statement as a feeling, as an audible, as a vision. And so what I realised, I was using this reservoir of spiritual energy very, very quickly. So I realised I need to be doing this in circle or in my practice time that I'm setting aside for my spirit team. But very quickly I started to notice that through everything that I was getting, that the source of that information was energy. So as that energy comes in, my stock as such, my go-to clair would be clairvoyance, and I'd pick it up off the shelf and I would use it as clairvoyance. And then gradually I would be aware that, do you know what, this is going to be best for feeling. So I'd go to the one that would accompany that, which is the clairsentient. And I would go to the shelf and I would use it as clairsentient. But again, I started to realise I'm still using this in a format. I'm still doing things by a checklist. And so what I try to do is leave it completely open and use it in its purity. So sometimes I know that I need to use the vision to then follow up by an audible, to then follow up by a feeling, and sometimes entwine the whole lot, which is mechanically I need to know where I am and what I'm doing. So again, which there will be a video on it, I would need to learn my measuring sticks for these clairs that I'm using, so I knew exactly what I need to be using to tell the best story I can of that individual's energy, the communicator's energy, their unfoldment, their way, and use me as the instrument in the best way possible. So I needed to get this understanding of where my energy was at, what energy I should be using in the best and most efficient way possible. So my advice to the question that was left from a viewer on YouTube was, how do we focus on a clairsentient, how do we sharpen it? And that is what I would do. I would set a task aside, maybe use some practice readings, or whether you're sitting in a circle or at home. But as a visual starts, if you're relying on clairvoyance, then ask your team and ask the communicator, now give me that as a feeling. And very, very quickly your measuring stick for the clairsentient part of you will require the understanding. You'll have the knowledge of what that feels like, knowing exactly where you are within the clairsentience. And in a very short space of time you will notice that your clairsentience has picked up a tremendous amount when you look back a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. You will notice the difference there. Now bear in mind that mechanic will work for every mechanic that I'm talking about. So whether it be for the seeing, the feeling, the tasting, the hearing, you can actually do this. There is the knowing as well that you can go with, but again it's just the measuring stick for each clair that you're trying to develop. Don't rely solely on one, because sometimes that one doesn't give you enough information. And the example I used here was the cup of tea, and the whether it being sweet or not, I would have to taste that. So I hope that has helped the viewer that raised the question. I hope some of you can take something from the video, and I look forward to the next videos, which you can select at the end here. So remember to like, share, subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next time.